Welcome to Toffee TV. I'm joined in the studio by Tony Sampson from Chicago. Kind of, we're going to get a story. It is our next overseas blues. His voice isn't American, you'll hear in a minute. But so it's good to finally have you in the studio. We've done this remotely, haven't we?
We have.
When you've been over, we haven't quite been able to meet up, but we have actually seen you a couple of times this time, so it's been good. So how are you?
I'm very well indeed. It's great to be here. Finally see where all the magic happens instead of staring at you down a computer screen. No, very well. I've been visiting my mum and dad who've had a bit of a rough patch, so it's been great. First time I've been back in 20 months now, so it's really nice to be back. Obviously, spend some time with them, but actually I've been able to, see lots of Everton as well and get me Everton fix. So yeah, it's brilliant. Really enjoying being back.
You're still waiting to be granted the chance to go back
to
America at the moment?
Yeah. With some of the travel restrictions, there's still a little bit of paperwork that needs to be sorted. So I'm hoping that gets sorted.
So when you come over, how long did you initially think you were going to be over for, or was it just an unknown?
It is a little bit of an unknown,
okay.
Depending on sort of what type of visa you have and all that sort of stuff. So there was a little bit of risk attached, but I think the process is normally about sort of 4 weeks, or that's the maximum. So I'm a bit over that now. But as I say, I've been able to take advantage of Everton. So in fact, been to 3 ways, and obviously going again tonight. I was in Waterloo last night to see the Howard's Way screening with Trevor Stevens. So yeah, I'm taking full advantage to get me Everton fix.
Get as much in as you can.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Well, let's take you back then. Obviously, by sound of your voice, you're a Scouser. So Everton, why Everton?
I can imagine it's exactly the same as many other people. It was my dad. I grew up in South Liverpool. Lived in Liverpool for the first sort of 20 odd years of my life. But yeah, it was my dad. He was the first one that got me hooked into Everton. He used to go home and away, when he was a lad and a young man, and talk to me about, all the experience, he had. I specifically remember him telling me about him travelling down to London for the '66 FA Cup final and that experience. And as you know, when he started taking me about the age about 5 or 6, I don't have to tell anybody. As soon as you get that experience of walking up to the ground and walking up and seeing the green of the grass and everything, it just
you were hooked.
That's it. And here I am now, and I've got 2 of my own lads now who, before we moved out to the US, they had season tickets, so the 4 of us had season tickets together. So I've managed to sort of brainwash them and sort of make sure that they're Blues as well.
For better or
for
worse.
Exactly.
And all of
exactly.
That. Who was your first hero then? Growing up?
My first hero was Graham Sharp.
Was it? Yeah.
He was the one I wanted to be in the playground. I love Graham Sharp. I can remember the goal against Spurs. And just thinking, this is, just seeing that, for the first time was unreal, hooked in. And then as I got older, I always used to love the fact that he seemed to hate the Reds. He was a great goal scorer of great goals as well. There's plenty to choose from, and I thought he was quite underrated actually, but he was the one, all the time. I remember getting one of my first replica kits actually, and they didn't have numbers on the back.
No.
Then, and I remember Mum saying, can we somehow get a number 9 on the back, and she did it out of a vest. Sort of got on. I was made up. Used to sort of play out in the front of our house. There used to be a big gate. That was always used to be the goal. Sort of used to practice, but it went pink in the wash, the number 9. So I had to retire it.
Ah, so good. Now you'd have had Stain Devil or something. You'd have been able to get that.
Absolutely.
You'd been sorted now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, completely.
But no, that wasn't around. So Graham Sharp. Sharp was unbelievable. Everton striker, so good. So I was age and Heath, so them two worked well together.
It's a shame they didn't have longer together.
The injury, curtailed it a bit. But no, Graham Sharp, what an absolutely fantastic player. And you're right, he's obviously great goal scorer, but scorer of great goals. Yeah. And that Tottenham goal for me still. I know that people talk about Liverpool and Anfield, which was an incredible goal, but the Spurs goal for me was the best goal he ever scored.
Just the angle right on the edge of the box and the way he
volley in the air, the height of him. Unbelievable. And that year, to be honest, he scored quite a few crackers that year. Saying this last weekend, he scored one against Leeds. We beat Leeds at home 1, and he scored a volley from the edge of the box.
Yeah.
Forest, I think he got 2-1 of them as a volley. Just absolutely brilliant goal scorer.
It was funny because I never used to have that much confidence if he was on a one-on-one with the goalie. I was never quite sure. There's a few occasions I can remember now where he Number one in the 4-4 actually against Liverpool as well, where he went through, and that seemed to be, I think, what held him back a little bit. He could have scored so many more goals, but yeah, for me, he was it. You know, he was. I loved the way we used to hang in the air.
Yeah.
You know, sort of a little bit like DCL today.
I was going to say there's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of similarity. Not a lot, but there's similarities between him and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because people, Dom's not brilliant one-on-one either, but fabulous in the air, gets more than his fair share of goals and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you think, they're up there too early, but I mean, Sharpie just used to hang in the air.
He did it on the way down after
and
time.
Always, and his ability on the ground as well. So yeah, he had a bit of edge as well. So yeah, he was me man.
Those memories.
I know, getting old, mate.
Do you know what your first game was?
Do you know what? I can't
remember.
I was
I suppose you're a kid, you did.
Yeah, I know, but it's funny because I think I'm the only one that can't remember the first game. But we were in Orlando, obviously pre-season, and there was a little bit of a Q&A with David France and Darren Griffiths, and I was on there talking about sort of what we're doing out in North America. Yeah. And I got the same question. I went round everybody on the panel, and and I was the only one that couldn't do it. I just can't remember it.
What's the first game you can remember then?
The first game I can remember, I tell you what I can remember is I can remember a series of draws with Gillingham in the cup. Do you remember them? Was it 1-1, 0-0?
0-0. First game's 0-0.
Yeah, I mean I started going before then, but I can remember that for me was
horrible
like,
games.
And thinking, is this it? Is this how it's going to be? Which
but we ended up winning. We won it there. We did. We got
through it. But yeah, no, it was always for me like many other people. Like I was the only one in our school that was in our year. Yeah. Sorry, in my class, it was a blue. The only one. And I can remember. I mean, those Monday mornings were brutal. Going in, I'll never forget my first derby. So that was the 5-0. We were in the lower Bullens towards the Gladys Street end.
Nice, that was the other end.
And I can remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course, then obviously, you'd sit next to Reds much more than you do now. And they were absolutely everywhere.
We had me dad, and our Steve was my uncle. The three of us were in the Bullens, and we must have had 25 of them sat around us. And obviously, Glenn Keeley gets sent off, and then off you go.
It scars you, doesn't it?
Scandalous.
I remember crying all the way home, thinking, I can't do this. We can't do this again. It was terrible. And in fact, to this day, I'll never watch a derby. Like my mates come and watch the pub, or I'd never do that. Apart from the first time I broke my duck, was actually last season's in Chicago. But the pub split into sort of two bars, so all the Blues were in the back and the Reds were in the front. So I don't know whether I need to change it now because we got to win.
You have to think like
superstitions.
That. You have to think. You've got to think like that. That's the way it is. The rules. Them is the rules. The first derby I can remember properly vividly was I think it was the season before or 2 seasons before. Was they beat us 3-1 at Goodison, and Sharp scored actually. Graham Sharp equalised for Everton, but I think Rush scored and Sooner scored. Remember, me and my dad were in the upper Gladys Street, and it was magical, the derby, and it was like 54,000 there, whatever. And I remember we scrambled an equaliser before half time, or just after half time. And I remember Graham Sooner scoring for them, and Dalglish with his big fat ass backing into it. He was an unbelievable master of holding the ball.
Dalglish, wasn't he?
And he rolled it back, and Sooner smashed it into the roof of the net at the park end, and they beat us 3-1. And I remember coming out thinking, you know what, we'll beat them next time. And they were amazing, and we weren't. They were like champions, weren't they? And we'd had a go. We'd had a good go. Now I haven't been able to speak for about 2 weeks, but just as a kid, you're like, no, we'll beat them next time, and going into school. But what's weird is you saying you were the only one. Wasn't it? I went to Quarry Bank. It wasn't really like that in Quarry Bank. There was loads of Blues, so there was a split. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but you're right. Monday mornings could be, because Everton were obviously crap,
it was terrible,
and they were winning everything. So sometimes you would get a hammering, but obviously, it changed.
And I can remember as well, sort of stuck with you as well as you go through life. But my retort at the time was always, "And were you there? And do you go?" So even then, that sort of defence mechanism was there. I can remember saying at the time, because my dad had used to say, "Come on, they've been on at me again." was like, yeah, betting on it with their son. So just,
don't worry about it.
But you never have any choice.
You didn't have to wait that long, though, did you, till it changed?
I know.
And I was saying this to someone was talking about it the other week, and I was like, because you're a kid and you start winning, all of a sudden I was thinking,
that's how it is.
Oh, we just win. It's what we do. We win leagues, we win cups. Life's great. This is it for life.
I can remember the morning of the 85 cup final. I can remember, and this is exactly sort of is an example of what you just said.
Yeah.
I remember being on my bike with a mate of mine, Christian, his name was at the time. He was a Red. Wasn't that much into football.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the match that afternoon. Talking about the match that afternoon, and he was like, what do you think it's going to be? And I was so confident.
Oh God!
I was like, oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, we'll win that. To think back, what it'd be, how nice it would be to have that level of confidence now.
Manchester United.
I know. And then obviously,
I've told the younger lads in here, and I've said this before, and I told. Not like that Q&A thing, me and Peter E. I'd done the Q&A for Peter E, so we were at the side, so because the Sunderland game is on it, isn't it? And I've said before to the lads, Ian Wallace scored that day after 85 seconds.
That's right, yeah, they took the lead, didn't they?
And me and my dad were like, yes, because we're going to come out now and batter these. Now, oh my God, we go one behind, I'm just like that, oh my God. But them days, it was just like, right, you've like,
there was a confidence, wasn't there?
There was poked the bear now. You've done that. It's the worst thing you could have done. And that cup final, because obviously we just won the cup and cup, and we were already league champions. I remember being in Stanmore in a pub. So we'd driven to Stanmore, and we'd gone to a pub, and then we were getting the train into Wembley. So I'm only a kid, when we're in the pub, and the pub's back Evertonians and the build-ups on and all of that stuff. And there's United fans in there as well, and we're singing Who Come Fourth in the 2-horse race, because they were blitzing it, weren't they? Looked like they were
right, yeah. They were miles ahead, weren't they?
Yeah, and and all this, like, I'm going, I'm thinking 3-0, 3-4-0, because they were just, they were all right, but they weren't
a force at all, were they? No.
Oh my God, and then going into Wembley and standing at the tunnel end and up steep and coming at me, boiling hot day as well, even though it was overcast, but it was boiling, and just no time thinking these will beat us, no time. Everton, but we weren't our normals. Reedy hit the post, didn't he, in the first half?
That's right,
with the volley. And
then the sending off, wasn't there?
But the sending off, it was like, it's all over. It's all over now, this. Yeah. And then, oh God, they score, and you just like, and we had that back header by Mathew that grazed the bar in literally the last attack.
Yeah.
And when we're getting back on we got back on the tube. There was murder before, by the way. Oh my God! In fact, I will get back onto you. This has become about me.
It's fine.
Sorry,
I'm enjoying it.
When we're walking down, when we got the
changing
train.
roles.
Yeah, I know.
I've got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, all right, no problem. We're coming down Wembley. We come off the train, the tube, and it splits. So we went over to the right unknowingly. But basically, what should have happened was Everton went one way, United went the other. So we kind of got ushered over to the right. So we come out the tunnel to go onto the thing.
Same time.
But we were in with the United fans. Someone grabbed my ear from a kid, some United fan. I'm thinking, I'm only a kid. I'm like 11, 12, what was I? 13 I was. Just grabbed my head, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm getting filled in. And he dragged me over. There was Everton fans getting smacked left, right, and centre on this bit. He dragged me over to the bit. He's like, get him out of here.
Oh, really?
He just went, yeah. I had a crossing because he had hold of me head, thrown over to the other side. Bloody hell. But coming out, we got back on the tube and going, we've lost. And you're like, oh my God. And some fella, and I don't know whether this is the same fella, but this fella said to me, what's up? I was like, oh God. And he was like, mate, you went 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
I know.
And there was that banner, wasn't it, the next day, 2 out of 3 ain't bad and all that.
Yeah, you get greedy, don't you?
1 out of bleeding 10. Be nice now,
I know, but you do think it's never going to end.
You just thought that was it, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's how to watch football. But it's funny. I mean, like loads of sort of kids that have been born in the last sort of 20 odd years. I mean, like my lads, they've grown up in an era of
nothing.
We lived down south before we moved out to the US. Chelsea, City were coming on the scene. Liverpool, obviously. But they've stuck with it. They've done, and I haven't had to try hard. It's been part of. It's like my dad. It's just part of. Sometimes you think when you're not in the city, you're gonna have to you know, just do a little bit more and what have you. But you know, we've still got our season tickets, so we used to come up every week. So, you know, we quickly got into the routine, and like they're Mad Blues now, trying to convert everybody out there. So,
I mean, that's superb, because I'm like that as well. Man City are good. You know, I mean, just season ticket holder, like, and he's like, shut up, Dad. I'm like, because I'm looking ahead thinking, oh my God.
Got a life of pain ahead of you, son.
All of this pain, yeah.
It's worth it, though.
My eldest lad just binned it. He's just like, no.
What, football completely, or?
He went up.
So he hasn't chosen another team, though, so that's good.
No, God, no. We went up for about 25, 30 games, 20 games, whatever, and he was just like...
Not for me.
And I'm made up, because it's just less stress. If he was stressed as well as me, and then Zarkov, me missus had killed us. Missus doesn't like footy, which is
We
great.
Wouldn't have it any other way, though, mate.
Absolutely great. No.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
So you moved down to London?
Yep.
With work, I presume.
Yeah, it was.
Doing that, and you've just said you were coming back up commuting, and that. So how did you then move over to? You moved over to Chicago.
Over to the US, yeah. Well, it was a work thing again.
Yeah.
So we got asked to go over there for a little spell and see what it was like. Again, it was all work related. So we said, yeah, come on, we'll go. Be a bit of
how
an
big
adventure.
a decision is that? Well, mind you, suppose you've already moved out to Liverpool, but
yeah, but it is massive, because obviously, you know, you move into a completely different country. Obviously,
yeah.
you know, they speak the same language and everything. And you know, my missus is, you know, her dad was in the forces when she was younger, so she was used to sort of, you know, she lived in different parts of Europe and stuff. So you know, she was well up for it.
Right.
You know, family. You know, it's a massive decision, isn't it? You know, it's not as though you're in Spain and you can hop on a plane for a couple of hours and come back. So yeah, it was a big decision. But you know, we felt it was the right one, and you know, a chance to give the kids.
Were the kids okay with it? Because
they were actually, yeah. They were. I remember when we sat them down to say, look, you know.
Were they born here in Liverpool?
They were born down.
So
they were born in London.
Right,
yeah,
okay,
they were born in South West London. Yeah, we'd already lived down there then.
Yeah.
But I remember I was sitting saying, look, you know, we've been given an opportunity and we want to talk. Their immediate response was, oh, we're going to Spain, because we've got a lot of friends out in Spain and stuff.
Right, yeah.
So they were like that. So they're like, oh, no, it's not Spain. You know, it's a bit further away. But they were fine. You know, and very excited about it.
Yeah.
Got wrapped up in it quite quickly, and we were able to go out there and do a bit of a recce. So we made that like a massive, you know, experience. So you know, we exposed them to a few US sports and stuff. So that was really good. But you know, moving over, you know, I think I've told you this before, that one of the first things is like, where does the Everton fix come from?
Yeah.
You know, you hear, and I've read over the years about sort of this North American following and what it's like, but you know, it's like, where can I watch?
Where can I watch them?
How do I watch it? What channels do I need to get?
Yeah.
Who else is there? You know, all that sort of stuff. So
that's the big one, isn't it?
That was pretty high on the agenda.
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it?
So we did. So yeah, and we found this place about 7 miles north of the city. Right. So we're a bit further north in some of the suburbs. Right. Called AJ Hudson's.
Okay.
So it's owned by a Blue.
Good start.
First time I walked in there was a 25, 30-foot flag that said Chicago Toffees, Pride of Merseyside, right on the side of the bar. So I thought, look, I think we'll be all right here.
We're all right here, yeah.
We'll be all right here. And it's run by a guy called Jamie Hale, who actually first started the supporters group with somebody called Diana McAnally, who is a Chicagoan but had visited the city, and I'll tell you a bit about that in a minute. And that's been going for 20 years now. This year is our 20th anniversary as a Chicago group. Brilliant. So it's amazing how sort of sustained it can be. But yeah, Jamie, it's a football pub. So there's little bits of memorabilia from all sorts of different clubs. There's a red corner. So
always spoil everything.
I know, but they're there, and then our bit is sort of there's like a back bar where there's it's just full of Everton stuff. There's a blue corner there, and it's great. So yeah, that's now. I mean, when we were in Maidenhead, we used to drive up every other Saturday, for our season tickets. Yeah. That was like 3 hours. So now our match routine is driving down to the pub.
How long does it take you?
It takes us about 45 minutes.
That's still commitment.
So it's still a commitment. I mean, it is when there's a 12 o'clock.
I was going to say, when it's the early ones.
Yeah, it is. But it's not as bad as the
I think you sent me a picture, haven't you? Just setting off for the match,
dark,
and it's pitch black. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too bad.
There's me moaning 20 minutes drive, like. Yeah.
I know. In the winter, it can be pretty brutal. Yeah. And like the West Coast Blues, I mean, they're up at like 4 a.m. kickoffs for them. So we quickly got into there, and I mean. First time I took the lads down, obviously, we were all, they were kitted out, and
you had your full kit on, come on.
I had my full kit on, even my shinies, shinies as well, even my tie-ups. And this voice. All right, lads, how are you? And it was a guy called Stuart Greer, who was the chair of the group at the time, from Huyton. Straight over, made us feel at home, told us how it all worked, introduced us to everybody. And that was it. You know, it just has now become a permanent fixture of what we do. My eldest son plays, so sometimes we can't get down there all the time. Yeah. And it's brilliant. It's a really, really great group of people, mixture of expats and then Americans. We've even had, you know, last season we got a big influx of Colombians as well, obviously with you know, with the Hammers signing. So, but yeah, no, it's been really growing, and we've tried to put events on and tried to grow the membership and get things going. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I've had some really great times there. Times when I wish I'd have been at Goodison, but actually experiencing things with that lot out there is it also made it special. I mean, I remember, you know, Duncan's first game. You know, I loved Duncan growing up. I mean, he was like one of my, after Graham Sharp, you know, he was one of my heroes. You know, and I can remember the tension in the bar. You know, and we'd had a couple of drinks and, you know, 9-10 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. But, you know, I can remember explaining to people how important this was going to be to him. Knowing how much he was invested
the Chelsea
in the
game.
club. The Chelsea game, sorry, you know, his first one. And then obviously, you know, the way it went. I mean, you know, there was people in tears and all sorts. I remember getting back in. It was a cab because I didn't drive that day. And I can remember speaking to my dad and like welling up and, you know, because you want to be the emotion. But I'll never forget that. And it was even a brilliant experience. Obviously, it was nothing like being at Goodison, of course. Yeah, but you know, just to be part of that with the rest of the gang, you know, they were all sort of, you know.
So they get it?
Yeah, they do. They do. They take, you know, there's some that fall into it. You know, everyone's heard the Tim Howard story. You know, and that is still a massive pull. You know, clearly. But I mean, there's one guy I know, Mike. You know, and he researched. He wants to know about the history of the club. He wants to know about the difference in the city, the politics of the city. You know, and he, you know, he's like, that's the club for me.
That's it.
And you know, he's now he's one of us and always will be. So.
That's
brilliant, it's been great, and it helps you settle in as well. You know, when you've got something a bit familiar, and it helps you sort of stay connected.
Your missus just like,
well, you know, it's not as though it was a new thing.
No,
you know
no.
I mean? Everton isn't a new thing. So you know, we were found out, and actually, you know, on the emotional side as well, you know, it's a way for me to stay connected back to the city and obviously the team, but you know, also my dad.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it allows me to keep talking to there. So yeah, it's been great.
Great. So you're still trying to promote Everton over there, still trying to grab new people?
All the time.
There'll be loads there, loads of Chicago people that don't know, Chicago-tonians that don't know that.
I tell you, we've got everybody
canvassing.
Everybody canvassing. We've got stickers all over the city. You know, so we're trying to do that. So yeah, I mean, look, and I think there's a real movement that's building out there now. I mean, it's been created over a long time, and you know, people like David Kurtz and Marshall and others that sort of got Everton USA going. You know, those foundations now have been really built on. And it's serious, and it's nice to see the club invest in. It's got a strategy. It's investing time. It's investing resources in sort of building that fan base. And you know, I think this year, you know, momentum's really started to build. There's a lot of excitement. There's been some real like practical things that have happened. You know, what I've been trying to do is sort of bring together, sort of better connect the supporters groups. I think there's probably 50 plus. Right. Some affiliated, some are just not. But what I've been trying to do is sort of better connect those groups so we can sort of have a better idea of what we want to do, what is going to make us grow our membership, what is going to get the Everton word out there, what type of events we can do. And I feel that's sort of what we've really developed in probably the last year or so. But it's it's getting serious. We're getting organised. We've got structure. We're in constant dialogue with the club. On things that they could do out there, sharing ideas. They've been very receptive to all of that.
So they should be, by the way. So they should be, because it's for them ultimately, isn't it? For you, but it's for them, you know. Trying to grow a global brand, trying to turn your club into a global brand, you need to have all hands on deck, don't you? And it's easier to do when you're successful. Well, we aren't successful, so therefore you've got to use every resource possible. I mean, we saw that, didn't we, this summer, Everton, going off to Orlando to play in the Florida Cup. I know you were there. Some still devastated that we couldn't be there. Gutted. My favourite place with my club would have been incredible. But it was great to see. It was great to see videos being shared the night before the first game. Everyone's in the pub, and you can Everton songs, and you can see people's faces and people who did go. And speaking to Jamie Ferguson on Twitter, you know, and he's just like, oh my God, it was amazing seeing people saying, what an unbelievable experience. First time I've ever seen my team and with these people and all that. So what was it like to experience?
I mean, all of what you've said was absolutely bang on, and you know, as I say, and there was quite a lot of restrictions in what we could do.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I think normally you'd sort of be there with open training sessions. There'd be lots of interaction with the squad and all that sort of stuff. You know, the club obviously couldn't do that because of COVID, but you know, it did. You know, and again, we set up a group of the supporters groups to sort of put a little working club together and work with the club on what they could do. You know, in the events, the Everton Orlando group, you know, Laura and the work that they did to sort of, you know, do that event in the pub and sort out the tailgate, you know, was amazing. But what was great about it is that, and as you say, just having the team out in the US again was just amazing. And, you know, and I think you're right. I think there's been a lot of criticism. I think some of it's deserved, you know, but they didn't seem to sort of really build on the momentum of Howard and McBride and Donovan and, you know, all the rest of them. Prechy and you know,
all of that
Joe
stuff.
Maxmore and all that. Yeah. But, you know, so to have them back in there was absolutely amazing. And then, of course, you know, you've been speaking to people over the last sort of 2 years, largely over Zoom and what have you, or on Twitter or, you know, phone calls and all the rest of it. And then you're suddenly with them, and you sort of, you know, it was just fantastic. And the events themselves, I remember, so it was the Saturday night was like the welcome bit in this Irish pub in Orlando, which is where the Orlando Blues, you know, meet and watch the game. Right. You know, walked in there, you know, and it was just, you know, it was like the place was bouncing.
Was it?
You know, it was just, you know, there was like 2 floors. There was a second room that was all full of Evertonians, and it, you know, it was just brilliant. You know,
feeling melancholy.
Gives you a bit of dose at home, and you know, and it was just great to just see everybody, you know, everybody out there. So, and then the tailgate, that was my first experience of a tailgate.
Was it?
I'd heard about, you know, seen all these sort of clips of tailgate parties and how mad they are, but I think we were a bit spoilt actually, because it seemed a lot more organised than I think the traditional one. But you know, again, sort of, you know, got to the ground, and you know, we had this whole corner of this sort of parking lot, and you know, there was, you know, tents and barbecues. It's
incredible.
You know,
I've been there to Orlando City, the Campbell Mill Stadium.
Yeah.
So seeing the tailgate, seeing all of that, couldn't believe it.
It was brilliant.
Couldn't believe it. Pulled up people barbecuing and the music playing and games getting played and kids playing footy and people.
All of that.
I was just like, God, you know, I'm walking at Goodison at like 10 to 3. Park my car, walk in 10 to 3. Yes, they come out and there, you're like, oh my God, and to see Everton doing it. We had James and Ryan who obviously do our Toffee TV USA. They were down there, the pictures they were sending, it was just looked incredible.
And I think that's what's been great about what's going on in America as well, is that, you know, there's different sort of groups and people involved in trying to spread that word, and I think that's what's been great. And again, you know, it just feels as though a lot of that sort of all connected and coming together now. So, you know, as you say, what, you know, James and Ryan and Alex before them, you know, had been doing, and again, you know, then you've got all these different groups from across the US that, you know, Atlanta and Carolinas and Vice City and DC, and you know, and they're all there together, and it was you know, it's just helps build the community and the excitement. Obviously, we were going to see Hammers for the first time.
Of course, yeah.
So there was an extra sort of.
And you got to see Gray, Damari Gray and Townsend. Everton won a trophy.
We won a cup.
I mean, come on.
So yeah.
Won a cup, you got to see it.
So yeah, it's
John Joe Kenny's Panenka. You know, it's all
and his wink.
Everton,
as well,
exactly. Everton turn up. Always got to be a little Panenka from one of our players. Last time we were there,
it was a great atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere.
It looked amazing, and hopefully Everton make it a regular thing.
I think they will.
Hopefully I can get out there.
Yeah, I mean, that was the bit that was missing. I think having people from home there. I mean, that would have been absolutely amazing.
There'd have been loads.
Yeah.
It'd have been incredible. And it was just slightly, we watched it, we'd done the watch along in the studio, we were watching it, and we had a couple of, we had Timo, who's one of our patrons as well, doing he started his phone live.
Yeah.
So we were like getting it, and we were looking at it, you know, it looked amazing, both games. It'd been great if people could have been there, because I think we'd have took loads and really shown what a big football club we are. And it was just a pity we couldn't do it, but it was still amazing.
Yeah,
It
it
still
was.
represented brilliantly, considering no Evertonians could go from anywhere outside the US, really. So it was great.
Well, we've got to build on it now. I think that's
100%.
That's the, you know, I think
100%.
you know, as I say, the foundations are all there, and you know, like we've you know, we did an event on I think it was on the Monday or the Tuesday with Tim Howard and Darren Griffiths and Graham Stewart were there, and we launched these All-Star Awards.
Okay.
So every year now, the supporters clubs in the US are going to vote for 2 award winners. One is somebody that's either played for Everton, an American that's played for America or North American, or somebody that's got associations with Everton and then played in North America and had an influence. So there was a vote went out to the supporters clubs. Tim Howard was the first winner.
Yeah.
No great surprise.
No. But
and
so
then,
we should as well there.
Yeah. And then there's a second award which will go to what we're calling a trailblazer. It'll be like a non-playing person. So this year, David France got that award. David's been
incredible.
He's been you know.
So Phil Neville next year, if into
Phil
Miami
Neville,
do something.
maybe, Phil Neville, maybe we could sign and entice Pracky back. So
yeah, you never know.
So yeah, no, it was good, and also like we saw, you know, we did this thing with Hummel.
Yeah, I was going to go on to that. Fantastic.
You know, early in the year where we
and then he put mine on when I was coming to the studio before, but then the pair of us sat here going, "What are you wearing?"
But that was great as well, you know, seeing people wearing, you know, sort of Hummel gear with their own sort of supporters club gear. That was just that sense of belonging, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
fantastic.
All part of the same clan.
Brilliant. And obviously, like you say, hope to build on that for the future. It'll be incredible, especially if Everton can get the thing that I've got in my head, which they weren't able to do, but take a couple of teams off the women's team and take one of the kids, whether it's the 23s or whatever, and play games over a week's period or whatever, and or do the training. So I think if you had like a surgery, they call down surgery, but you know, with that kind of thing, I think with restrictions maybe get a bit easier. I think that'd be great to really get into the community, do like kids training session for a couple of hours or a footy camp for 3 days or something, and have first team there one day, the women or the kids, something like that. I think if Everton could do that, and it was he couldn't have done it this time, it was just the restrictions, but if Everton can start doing that, that's a way of grabbing people as well, isn't it?
And I think there's some really good signs that that's the stuff that they're going to be doing. Excellent. So I mean, I think, you know, there's already whispers about, you know, what might next year look like, and you know, who else can be involved, which other parts of the teams and what have you, which is great. And obviously they've kicked off the soccer schools thing, so they did do some of that. I think they sort of trial that this year. So I think they did a number of states. I think they're looking to roll that out nationwide next year. You know, back to your point around sort of getting the Evertonians of the future. So because it's got to be sustainable. I mean, look, you know, the best way that we're going to grow it is if we win something.
Oh, of course.
You know, that's a little bit less predictable, isn't it? So the other things that they're putting in place around, you know, the soccer schools and this affiliate academy thing with some of the clubs out there, and you know, the bit I want to see them now is obviously, because I've got a vested interest in this, is now advancing that growth plan for the supporters groups. What are the benefits of that going to be? What incentives can they provide? How can you tie that in maybe with, you know, some of the pubs and the bars that you do it with? So, you know, there's something, you know, to help expand that. So, but yeah, it's dead exciting. And you know, as I say, sort of, you almost, I don't know what it's like for other people, but my missus says this regularly. You know, it's like you've become even more sort of fanatical because you're constantly looking for ways to you know, keep that connection and what have you. But yeah, I love it.
Well, I mean, it seems to be going really well. And long may continue, because it is about, I think for too long, I've said this to you before, for too long, and probably we all did it, you won't have done it because you weren't here, but we probably all revelled in, you know, all of our fans live within 5 miles of the ground, and this, you know, it's L4, and I think the club liked it, you know, being intrinsic. We don't want this. We don't want this. The reality is it was very short-sighted, because to grow globally, to grow commercially, to have more money so you can compete better, to get bigger sponsorship deals, you need to have fans everywhere. There needs to be an interest everywhere. And it probably was very short-sighted from us as fans and from the football club to go the other way, laughing at the likes of Liverpool and United, when really they were laughing at us because they were the market leaders. So it's brilliant to see. Better late than never, they say, isn't it? So it's brilliant to see things turning the other way now, where we're going. Actually, it is time to spread our wings a bit and to put down roots everywhere, because fans in every country keep the conversation going.
It's
and
true.
that's what it's about.
It's true, and I can understand that. I mean, I grew up in the city, so I get that, and I think it has been fueled by looking. I think probably over the years we've looked too much, haven't we, at the other lot to sort of see where they are and what have you. And,
we should have maybe copied them.
Maybe
might have been a bit better, one stuff.
Yeah, well, certainly on the field, definitely. But I get that. I understand sort of how that narrative sort of evolved. I understand it, but as you say, I mean, now I'm out there, and there's 50 supporters groups and their members that have chosen to be Evertonians for various reasons, and I mean, you've seen the clips. Are hugely passionate. Are invested in the club, want the best for the club. So what difference does it make? And they're Evertonians. So
getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch 6 defenders knocking it round at the back and losing all the home games shows you the commitment.
It is great. And look, as I said, I think we are seeing the club is now investing in that, and that's really encouraging. They've obviously they've brought on Jürgen Meinke, who was sort of part of that management team with Beckham, who grew into Miami as well. I think he was head of commercial at CONCACAF. He knows that market. He understands how it works. So and he's been very proactive. I've been speaking to him through the forum and what have you. And I think obviously from a commercial perspective, he's got sort of stronger strategic inroads. So I'm interested to see how that's going to evolve as well, because that bit needs to be done. But
the other thing that makes you a little bit more unique, so being an overseas Blue is that you're actually the fans forum member as well. You were on there, you were voted on. And I think that's, I said at the time, because he's been on a few times, but I said at the time I thought it was a really good thing by the fans forum to have someone who is based in another country. I know Joe does it as well, based over in Ireland, but you based in the United States. I thought it was a really good thing, a really positive step, because it is about moving out from just having 12 scousers doing it. Not none with that, but trying to spread it a little bit more. So how are you finding being on the forum, and is your outlook a little bit different to the others? I suppose it will be because of the way you have to look at stuff. I guess.
I think it is. And I think and I said this before. When we were coming on to talk to you when I was like with my little campaign. I like to think that hopefully I've got a perspective of what it's like to support the club, have the connections, and the connections with the club. And growing up in the city as an Evertonian, but now obviously I know what it's like to be an Evertonian overseas, about wanting that constant connection. So I always thought that was a good balance. It's not just me. There's plenty of other people out there as well. So that's when I sort of thought about it. I thought, well, maybe that's where I can sort of nudge you forward a bit. When I went out there, just off my own bat, and I had a few ideas and stuff. It was born out of frustration, really. I was like, we should be doing more here. What can we do? So, I sort of just wrote to the club and said, what about this? Nothing fancy, it was an event, blah, blah, blah. And then the forum thing came up, and then that's where I thought, well, maybe this can sort of formalise this a little bit. And as you say, help them understand what it's like, because it is different. Of course it's different. Driving 40 miles in the morning to go and watch your team in a pub. With people that sometimes have never even visited the stadium you're with, how they engage, how they watch. People watch sports in a different way, and how they connect. And one of the things we're looking at the moment actually is like the membership scheme. So, I think at the moment some of the benefits are, sort of trips to Finch Farm, or I'm talking about like all of the memberships, not international. And sort of see better access for tickets and stuff. Now, that sounds fantastic, but for somebody that's living in Chicago or Michigan or wherever it is, that really isn't much use. So again, it's being able then to go back to the club and say, what, I know what you're trying to do, but there's actually things that might better suit that market and better engage people. So let us help you understand that, and then hopefully you can you can come up with the solution. So it's been great, and we've obviously I've got a heavy focus on North America because I'm sort of live there, but we've formed through the forum now sort of like little regional subgroups. So we've got we brought together some of the European groups together in, again, WhatsApp chats and Zoom meetings and all that sort of stuff. We're trying to do the same with sort of like Asia Pacific region as well. So, and it's right, I mean, you know, one of the big live issues at the moment is retail. I think we talk about this every time I talk to you, but, you know, when my first meeting at the forum, I was like, you know, people can't buy shirts, they can't get anything. No. It's taken ages for things to be delivered. It comes from the UK. If it doesn't, you know, if it's not the right item or they've packed the wrong thing, you've then got to pay to send it back. People can't be arsed doing that, so they don't bother. They disengage, and you've lost someone. So, you know, we've been, you know, working sort of with the club and through their partnerships team to try and improve that. I mean, pleased to say there's now going to be, and it's sort of a bit of a trial basis, but there's a select number of stores across the US now where there'll be in-store merchandise. Wow. That's good. So, that is wow. So we'll, you know, I don't think it's all going to be available like tomorrow, but I think in the course of the next number of weeks. So again, that's a bit of progress. Forward, again, sort of the distribution out there as well, so people aren't waiting for stuff to be delivered from the UK. There's now a number of US-based distributors that will carry stock, so things will get there quicker and what have you. The club's announced some more distribution partnerships with the likes of Walmart, so it'll be easier to get stuff. So look, lots to do, but you know, at least there's some signs of progress. And of course, the other big thing at the moment is the work we've been doing with the Irish Toffees. So I don't know if you've seen some of the online noise, but you know, there's just nowhere where they're able to buy
that's crazy
anything at the moment. And you know, we've got an Irish captain and what have you. So we've been sort of trying to work with them and the club as well to advance that. And you know,
is that moving forward?
It is moving forward. It's not moved as forward as fast enough as anyone would like, but we know that there's a couple of things now that are in the works that hopefully will sort of move that on. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do from an international perspective, is just sort of make those connections. And like the North American Toffees, you know, we get together on a monthly basis now, the supporter group leads, and we share, you know, what the club's up to, and if there's anything that they want to raise, we then take that back. We're involved in the planning of, you know, various events. This memberships thing, we've now put again another little group together to work out what'll happen. And again, credit to the club, you know, they're the engagement team. You know, they were on a call with us till like 2 a.m. UK time the other week, again listening to what people were saying. Good. So yeah, good. As I say, you know,
only now and again they have to do it. That's good.
Going all right, but it's you know, as I say, more to do.
Yeah, definitely. Any bit of progress is good, isn't it, as we move forward? But let's finish with just how you think the season's going so far. Then obviously we had a chat about Rafa Benitez. I don't think he was on everyone's number one on the list, but he's come in and it seems to be going all right at the moment, doesn't it? Made a good start, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think anybody could complain with where we are at the moment. I think you're right. I was at the second screening of Howard's Way last night in Waterloo, and Trevor Stephen did a Q&A afterwards, and he was asked the same question about Rafa and what other thing, and he was quite interesting because he was like, look, you know, I know he wasn't everybody's first choice, but if you look at maybe some of the other candidates, he said he personally could understand why, you know, the club opted for him in the current circumstances, and he sort of asked for a show of hands on doing. I don't know, there was only like 200 people in there or whatever. I think, you know, 3/4 of them sort of said they were, you know, they'd get behind Rafa. But yeah, I mean, look, I think the start's been fine, hasn't it? A
manager that makes notes.
You know, he's sort of very active on the sidelines. He's constantly talking to them and barking instructions and what have you.
We love that as fans, don't we? Yeah. That engage. You don't want to see someone not doing anything. You want to feel like it matters to them like it does to us. So I think that's been good.
But it's early days.
Yeah, of course.
It's early days. What are we? We've
only played 5. At the time of recording, we've only actually played 4 games. We're about to play Burnley. This will go out after we've played Burnley. So, but it's looking all right.
Yeah, and you know, and I think he needed that. He needed that start, didn't he? Because I think, you know, I think it's right. You know, if and when we do it's a sticky patch, I think it might be a different. You know, it might be a different atmosphere. But you know what strikes me is he's got thick skin. He's been there, you know, apart from, you know, some of the clubs he's managed some of the biggest clubs around the place. You know, he seems to be very clear about what he wants to do. He seems very detailed, very deliberate about what he says and what he does. So, I mean, look, he's here now. And, you know, let's just hope that things stay good on the pitch.
He wins us a trophy, we'll all be delighted.
There we go. Florida Cup was the first one.
Well, that's it. He's already won something, so if we can follow it up with another piece, it'd be lovely. I just think it is what it is, and we get behind him. He's working hard. The players, I actually said it before, I feel like he's better suited to this squad of players than what Carlo Ancelotti ever was. So I think you've got world-class players, then maybe Carlo's your man. With this squad, I think Rafa's your man. Yeah,
and if you look at, you know, he's operated in some similar circumstances, isn't he, with sort of, you know, the tight purse strings, and you know, we look at sort of Newcastle and some of the other clubs. So, you know, maybe you can get a tune out to some of the players that actually the last number of managers haven't been able to. So,
and make sure they make the investments not look as bad as what they were. That's what it comes down to, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You can get people like Iwobi, who started the season really well. Yeah. You can get him playing well, and that, then all of a sudden people go, actually, you know what? He's decent. Where people were, you know, wanted them gone last season. You know, you could start changing people's minds on certain players. So, long may it continue.
Absolutely.
Keep winning football matches.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else? We've had a good chat.
No, it's been great to be here.
Anything really else going on that you've
really, you know, really enjoyed it. The only other thing I'd say with the forum is we've been quite active in this the work about the fan-led review, about trying to get so not just sort of abroad but here, about trying to follow up on some of the consultation that the forum did, but also with a group of different sorts of Everton stakeholders. So, you know, some of the supporter groups that are affiliated to the FSA, the Supporters Club Committee, the Disabled Supporters Association, Heritage Society, shareholders. So we've we did a lot of consultation with them, sort of just in the time after the shitty six.
Yeah.
You know, we sort of presented those findings back to the football club. And we're now carrying on that work now. One of the biggest issues that came back was how can we make sure that basically there's a proper voice at the board level, you know, for football fans. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes now to sort of get more input onto that and then take a proposal back to the club. And what's been great is that different parts of the fan base and the stakeholders have been coming together to sort of unify around what that might look like. So still a bit more to do, but I think it's really, really important that we keep pushing it at least. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, ultimately it'll be for the club to decide what we want to do, but what's been great is just how the different groups have come together to, you know, because we need to make sure that, you know, our interests are looked after.
Most I mean, we saw that, didn't we, with the Sly Six or whatever you want to call them. I like your name better, but yeah, there you go. Yeah. Hopefully that work can come to fruition and we can protect the game for us as fans, because it does feel like it's been going away from us, running away from us for far too long. And what the pandemic showed us, it's not really the same without us. So hopefully we can wrestle a little bit of that power back, even if it is just a little bit. But it's important, and we saw when the fans did make a bit of a fuss, things stopped quickly. But I don't think that issue's gone away, by the way. I think
it's going to come back, and that's why it's important that we've got a genuine voice there, because I think you know, I think that's the way in which we're going to make sure that, you know, we don't get shafted and, you know, in the future. So
Tony, big thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me in.
Lovely
nice
to have you in the studio. Enjoy the game tonight.
Looking forward to it. Under the lights.
Under the lights, and you'll be watching this after we've already played Under the Lights, so I'm sure we will have enjoyed it. There you go. Make sure check out Tony at Chicago Evertonians on Twitter. He runs that. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Let us know anything Tony's discussed here about plans in North America, and if you are a North American fan and you've been impacted by that event, let us know how you've got on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.